What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. A Widow Wednesday on a Tuesday. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the rogue one at Gary Witta.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad, Gary. Not too fucking bad, Gary.
I'm guessing Ghostbusters is in the news today.
Gary, not only is Ghostbusters in the news today, Greg Miller is in the news today. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed has been announced. It is a new video game from IllFonic, and I can confirm that myself and Rahul Kohli are stars of it.
Yeah, and written by James and Elise Williams.
It's not about James and Elise right now. It's about me and Rahul. Let us have our moment. I don't need to hear about Dan Aykroyd. I don't need to hear about Ernie Hudson being in the game as well. It's Rahul Kohli and Greg Miller's time to shine.
All right. Okay.
You can look. You can praise us now. You can praise.
How big is your part?
And I'm not at liberty to say. We haven't announced the characters we're playing yet in this game. So
you know what they say, Greg. There are no small parts, only small actors.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, to be part of the Ghostbusters legacy, Gary, on this level. Because, of course, everybody knows I was already the Ghostbuster in the Ghostbuster World commercial. And you might say, what's Ghostbusters World? It was this Pokemon knockoff game. Lasted all like 3 months. But let me tell you, it was a great 3 months while it was around, all right? And I got to be in the commercial for that. And everybody's like, oh, man, now you're part of the canon. I'm like, am I? And now I'm in this fucking game. And I'm weaseling my way up the ladder. I'm weaseling my way up the fucking ladder, Gary.
Is this game canonical?
So we're going to get into it. It's a top story, but I'll start it there for you if you want. Yeah, so Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed picks up after the events of Ghostbuster Afterlife. Like I said, they have Ernie Hudson, they have Dan Aykroyd. They've been working close with Ghost Corps, and so they're treating it as canon, but
what is Ghost Corps, the company that manages the Ghostbusters brand?
Yeah. Okay. It was Ivan Reitman and Jason Reitman and Gil, Jason Reitman's partner or whatever.
Okay.
Writing partner. And so it's still them and they're still doing it. But like the idea here is that they get to go make a game in that world. But then, of course, if the movies want to have nothing to do with it or use stuff from the game, like me, just putting it out there, Jason Reitman, if you're watching, you want to use me, Greg Miller, no big deal. Not Rahul. Rahul doesn't need it. All right, Rahul's got enough acting.
You're slowly building up this voice acting resume, Greg. Is this always going to be a sideline for you, or could you imagine one day like you're Greg Miller voice actor?
Well, here's the thing: is I've already signed the contract for Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, which is actually a lie, and I haven't signed anything. It's all a handshake agreement. But what you need to know is that I'm not really good at voice acting, so it's surprising I keep getting into things, Gary. You know, because I can do the Greg voice. I can do Greg a little bit higher pitch when I'm Carl the Crab. Wow, shooting star at 10. Wow, like I'm up there, you know what I mean? And then that's it. Like I guess I did, even when I did Polka Dot Man.
I mean, you don't always have to do a voice to be a voice actor anymore.
Sure, but then I'm just Greg. It was what people were talking about for Solitaire Conspiracy, right? Where like a lot of the reviews were like, Greg Miller's in this too, and that's cool, but it's just, I've listened to Greg Miller for like 13 years, so it's hard for me to be over this guy. It's clearly Greg. It's just Greg being Greg. I mean, but again, Jason Reitman doesn't know that, and so chat be cool. Nobody tell Jason Reitman.
Can you do voices? Can you disappear into another character so that we wouldn't know it was you unless you told us?
Sure.
Go on then.
Oi, governor! I knew it. Stuff, yeah. See, that wasn't Gary. Audio listeners, that was me. That was me, audio listeners. That wasn't Gary.
I said disappear into a character, not disappear up your own asshole.
Oh, Gary, strap in. It's going to be a good show. We're going to talk about, of course, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. We're going to talk about The Witcher 4 saying they won't have crunch. And then we're going to reveal a bunch of new Xbox controllers Gary is going to have to buy. We're going to talk about all this and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday on a variety of platforms, we run you through the nerdy video game news you need to know about. If you like that, be part of the show. Patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. Over on Patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, you can write in to be part of the show with your questions, comments, concerns. You can get the show ad-free, and you can get the post-show we do each and every weekday. However, if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. There are multiple free ways to support us. Number one, you can go to the Epic Game Store. Use the creator code KindaFunny. If you're using that, we get a few bucks every time you buy a V-Buck or whatever. And you might not even be playing on the Epic Game Store. Guess what? Fortnite, Rocket League, and of course, Fall Guys, all use the Epic creator code. You can put in the Kinda Funny code there and get us some help there. On top of that, you can watch us record this show, Kinda Funny Games Daily, live on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames, just like, I had the chat too large, Alex1342, Miss Envy, and every show, Joe R. If you're watching live on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames, of course, you have a special job. Go to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screw up as we screw it up so we can set the record straight for everybody watching later on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and listening on podcast services around the globe each and every weekday. Housekeeping for you. Of course, we're going to talk about more of this Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, give you the top level stuff. But me and Blessing have a long conversation because on top of being in the game, I've actually played a bunch of it already. So you can go over to PSILY XOXO, which is live right now on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, podcast services around the globe. Catch a long preview of that, then get in, of course, all the PlayStation nerdy news you need to know about. And if you want to be a Patreon supporter, stick around. You can watch Blessing play America's favorite quiz show, You Don't Know Janet. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Gordon McGuire, Fargo, Brady, and Pranksky. Today we're brought to you by Cuts Clothing, Lumen Skin, and Honey, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. 6 items on the Roper Report.
A baker's dozen.
Number 1. Greg and Rahul are in Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. Spirits Unleashed has been announced. Here's the official press release. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, the 4v1 hunt or haunt supernaturally charged video game from the asymmetrical multiplayer experts at Elphonic, rolls out the Ecto 1 in Q4 2022 on PC for Epic Games Store, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X/S, and Xbox One. Put on a proton pack, grab a ghost trap, and monitor the trusty PKE meter as a Ghostbuster and a team of 4 brave souls pursuing ghastly ghosts terrorizing public locations. Work together to find the ghost, blast them with streams from the particle thrower to tether the slimy foe in place, and shut the trap at the perfect moment. Keep citizens calm and corral the ghost before the environment gets too haunted. Play as a ghost, scaring unsuspecting citizens at various locations. You ain't afraid of no Ghostbuster thanks to the ability to fly and teleport between rifts. Possess objects lying around each room by sneak by roaming Ghostbusters, and frighten passerbys. If that doesn't work, sliming and summoning ghoulish minions will. Haunt each map to completion as one of multiple ghosts with different abilities. Prepare for each match in the iconic firehouse by customizing your Ghostbuster or ghost, upgrading equipment and abilities, and getting some target practice in with the particle thrower, as well as its different modifications. Talk with Winston Zeddemore, voiced by Ernie Hudson, and get missions before going out into the field. Meet some new and old friends like Dan Aykroyd's Ray Stantz, ready to hand down some busting wisdom at Ray's occult books. Who are you going to call when you want to bust some ghosts? Thanks to cross-platform multiplayer, anyone on PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5, and or Xbox Series S/X or One can come together to cross the streams and spew slime. AI companions can also fill games or enable solo Ghostbusters or a solo ghost to play offline. Gary Whitta, I know I've given you a lot of information today. I know, I can tell by looking at you, you are, of course, a little starstruck.
It's a lot. I'm overwhelmed.
It's to be here with the star of the Ghostbusters game. You know what I mean? But what is your initial read on what you've heard so far?
First of all, don't cross the streams, but do cross the play. I like that. You know how much I like about crossplay.
You've been on crossplay for a long time. I'm glad it's happening.
I'm telling you, the dream is slowly coming true.
It's not even slowly. It's happening all over the place.
It's happening. It's happening. What is that? A PK meter? What do you got there?
PKE meter. Yeah, I was doing some props here, doing some props and stuff.
Is that like a shitty Halloween store one, or is that a good one?
No, this is the Maddie Collector one. Please come on now.
Okay, that's a top quality one.
Yeah,
okay.
That means I spent a lot. Of
money.
You
only have the high quality stuff, right?
Well, no, I have a lot of crap stuff too, but it's not even crap. Like the Spirit Halloween stuff is good. You know what I mean? I got plenty of this
That's
stuff.
a Spirit Halloween trap?
Yeah, look how good that looks.
Does it do anything?
Well, yeah, it used to open up and light up, but I mean, it's a Spirit Halloween trap, so it's kind of crap and it broke pretty quick, but it still does it does what I need to.
Just a good, if you're just gonna hang it off your belt.
Hang on my belt, right? Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what else do you need? It's okay, so we'll talk about the actual game in a moment, but I think it's an interesting.
Also, Kevin, do you want to play the trailer? If you want, you could.
Hell.
Do you have a link for it? Because I don't see a link here.
No, but if you copy Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed trailer, you'll find it.
I don't understand. I mean, that sounds like your job,
Gary, I'm sorry you have to work under these conditions. You know what I mean? I'm sorry for myself. No wonder Rahul won't show up. Another star of the Ghostbusters video game here, but whatever.
And so, at least I'm well paid. Oh, no, wait, I'm not.
He got you, Greg.
How many Loodle users do you have right now?
Actually passed 8 million today. So
you'd only have 7 million if it wasn't for us, all right?
You think that's what it is? You think
no, not at all, but I'm going to say that.
Put us over the top?
We got a lot of fucking pervs out there, right? If you're a perv in the chat, say perv, all right? That's not what I'm looking for. I know you're out there. You're out there doing the things.
They're out there. We know they're all playing.
All right, Gary, the trailer's playing. They're showing some stuff. I'm sorry. Back to you. What do you walk away from?
Let me have a look at the trailer here while I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the actual game in a moment. I think it's an interesting opportunity to just talk about like Ghostbusters games in general and kind of the legacy and the history of them. I'm old enough to remember I played the original one, the David Crane Activision game, on the Commodore 64 in 1984 when the movie came out. And I remember having a great time with it and really, really enjoying it and thinking it was a really fun game. And then many years later,
now hold on real quick. You and I got to jump in right off the thing here. You understand that game and David Crane are the reason I'm here today.
How is that?
That one, of course, also got ported to Master System, and it had different stuff on it.
It was on every platform.
When Master System's the best version. But when I was walking through the toy aisles with Mom to go get real Ghostbuster toys, there was the Ghostbusters game behind the glass, and I hit the glass and I said, "What's that?" And my mom said, "It's a video game." And I said, "What's that?" And then she explained, and I was like, "I want that." And that was the first video game I ever got.
Wait, so you discovered Ghostbusters as a video game before you knew it was a movie?
No. I discovered video games through Ghostbusters. I was at Toys R Us to get Ghostbusters toys, and then we went down the video game aisle and I saw the video game.
Oh, how interesting! Okay. Yeah. Well, it's not like you wouldn't have discovered video games anyway, right? You sooner or later you would have figured.
Well, it's a cooler story because I discovered.
No, I suppose. And
now I'm in the Ghostbusters game Spirit Unleashed. No big deal. Q4 2022, everybody.
David Crane, obviously a legendary video game designer from the early halcyon days of video games. And as I was saying, I played the Commodore 64 version. I had it on cassette tape, and I enjoyed it immensely. And I remember I only ever had fond memories of it. And then years later, I remember watching, I think it was an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd where he was playing the NES version that he had when he was a kid. And apparently it's terrible and everyone hates it. So I don't know.
They have a bunch of different ones that all suck. Yeah.
I don't like it was very divisive. And also I think there are a lot of difference between the versions.
Yes.
I think the Commodore 64 version was better than, even though they were all basically versions of the same game. I think some versions were better than others. And then I guess I kind of like, I don't think I ever played another Ghostbusters game after that, but you're clearly the man to ask, Greg. Like this one aside where we don't know yet.
Yeah.
What is the word on Ghostbusters, the history of Ghostbusters games as a whole? I'm thinking it's kind of a mixed bag, right?
Yeah, I mean, mostly Ghostbuster games fall into the same licensed tropes we've seen time and time again, right? Where I'm with you of like, I had the David Crane Master System one, and then anything else that had the Ghostbusters logo on, and I had it. And I remember having fun with like my Game Boy Ghostbusters 2, but like it was that thing where, how those games were at the time, where it was just had really nothing to do with the movies. You're just walking around, being a Ghostbuster, and it's fine. It's whatever. It's not remarkable, right? I think Ghostbusters games languished in that space for the longest time until Ghostbusters the video game come around. And like, that was coming around, and that was the whole, story journey of, that happening with Atari going out of business and selling it, Activision dumping it, and then finally getting picked. Or that I skipped a step there. Sorry. Where Atari ended up being the final publisher of Ghostbusters the video game after Activision dumped it, after they picked it up from a name that escapes me right now, but one of the video game publisher that went defunct. And of course, that one was great. And it was a game at the time that was, for all intents and purposes, the third movie. And it felt like that's what we were going to get. That was all we were going to get, right? And that is the final time you see all the Ghostbusters together, the original 84 Ghostbusters, right? Because it was before Harold Ramis's passing. It was him and Dan Aykroyd working on it. It was them working with Terminal Reality, the developer, and, really being part and parcel, hand in hand with that game to make it feel like the movie. And they got Bill Murray back, and they did all these different things for it. And it was great for the time. They just put out the remastered version of it. And I think, maybe now, obviously, with a few more video game years under our belt, and then also the fact that the movie's out, and then I feel like, the game struggled in a way, I think, in the same thing we see so many movies, these requels struggle right now, where it's like, cool, we want this to feel like the movies you love, but we want it to be new. So it was finding reasons for you to go back to the Sedgwick Hotel to fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man again. It was tied into, Gozer again, and the whole thing there with like what was going on with Ivo Shandor, which of course is really what Afterlife becomes about as well too. But it was a good game. It was fun. And I talk about it on PS I Love You, where obviously I'm so sorry to everyone who watches this. I know that it must suck for you to live in a world where all my dreams come true. And I don't know if that happens for you enough, ladies and gentlemen, but for me, it happens all the time, where I got what I wanted out of a Ghostbusters video game, right? I got a HD, you're a Ghostbuster, you're wearing the pack, you're using the equipment, you're living, you're shoulder to shoulder.
And all the actors, right? All the voices.
You're shoulder to shoulder with the actual Ghostbusters, right? Harold Ramis's last performance is Egon. And then, years later now, a decade later, more than a decade later, we get this game coming out. And again, like me being involved with it, take it with a grain of salt. What I think of it, I played it, I really enjoy it. You know, I did not like Ghostbusters Sanctum of Slime. There's been plenty of Ghostbuster games that I don't just fall for because I'm a fan or I have some kind of loose involvement with it. But for this is the one, of course, from IllFonic, which is that got leaked earlier from the IllFonic, like, you know, one of the presidents or whatever, being on a podcast and mentioning it offhandedly. And we all were like, oh, what's that all about? And then, you know, Ernie Hudson mentioned that they were doing voice stuff. And at that point I already knew, but, you know, for it to be IllFonic, a company that made Friday the 13th and Predator Hunting Grounds, and both of those games laden with problems, not at all like perfect 10 out of 10 video games by any stretch of the imagination, but for Greg Miller's money, fun games. Y'all know how much I played Friday the 13th and how many matches I did with KindaFunny best friends. And Predator Hunting Grounds, we streamed all the time because we enjoyed it so much. And, you know, being the Predator, running around, chasing each other and trying to kill each other. What I've been impressed with from the demo I played, and again, I go into way more detail about the actual demos, I should say, too, that I played on the PSILY XOXO. But what I play about it, Gary, is like, I feel like it's stripping back to the core of what makes those kind of games fun and not layering so much on them. Like, you know, talking to Bless about Predator, he was very much like, well, Predator, there's just so many objectives going on. There's so many different things going on. And Friday the 13th, it's the same way too, of like, you know, there's so many counselors. You don't have to work as a unified group, but you could, but do you want to, blah, blah, blah. You know, for being the Ghostbusters in the Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, you're right. The idea is, hey, let's bust this ghost, which comes down to obviously catching the ghost, putting him in the trap, but also he has rifts around the world. The map they've been demoing is museum. You have 3 rifts. Think of rifts as extra lives. So when you get trapped as the ghost, rather than the game just be over and you've lost, similar to Predator, where like, hey, I want to be Predator. All right, cool, try it out. And everyone beats the shit out of you, you die. This time around, you get caught and you respawn out of one of the rifts if the rifts exist. So as the Ghostbusters, you're running around trying to destroy these rifts so that there are no more extra lives. So that the time when you catch the ghost the next time, he's done for. And then on the flip side, as the ghost, you're running around trying to haunt the building you're in, which means you're trying to scare the civilians out of the place, which increases the haunt meter, which makes the rooms more ghostly and ghouly and slimy and stuff like that.
What's interesting about this is that sometimes I think a licensed game and a particular kind of genre that's trending at a given time, they kind of line up in a good way, right? So you mentioned Predator Hunting Grounds, Friday the 13th. This developer's obviously got a good track record in that kind of this kind of asymmetric multiplayer gameplay that's very popular right now. Dead by Daylight, right? It's still huge, right? Everyone plays that. It's really, really popular. And so that kind of like if you were going to do a Ghostbusters game just from a blank slate, I think you might very naturally say, hey, let's do one of these asymmetric type games, right? Because you've got a team of Ghostbusters working as a team plus a ghost. And it just seems like it maps very nicely onto that. Obviously, it depends on how they execute it in this particular instance, but it seems like it maps very nicely onto that style of gameplay that's very popular right now.
And that's the thing, right? Is like Phasmophobia has been popular, and that's, you know, very much a similar idea of you being ghost hunters or whatever they call it, and you go out and you run into a haunted place and try to trap the spirit that's going on. And I remember seeing that and being like, oh man, like that'd be cool if somebody did it with Ghostbusters. And then so for IllFonic to do it, and again, like what I talk about in PS I Love You. And again, like I more than being a voice in the game, right? Like I've been friends with the people at IllFonic since Friday the 13th. And, you know, so again, you can take everything with a grain of salt, number one, but also, I mean, I know that they're folks that just don't lie. And so like they know the shortcomings of their games. They've never been like, we're a 10 out of 10 game. This is what's going on. But what I appreciate about it is, you know, not even getting the demo, but talking to them yesterday was them talking about what they've learned from those games and talking about how they want their, you know, servers to be super stable and to load you into the game faster than ever before, and have it be that, you know, when you choose to play the game, they're getting you right into the game. Even if that means you're going to play with AI bots for that first round, they want to backfill it then when you get done with your matches. Matches are only supposed to be like 7 to 10 minutes. I also love the ability to play with AI. I love the idea of practicing. That was always another thing about somebody who, man, I want to get a few cuts as Predator and figure out how to be Predator. That meant you had to go out there and fight as Predator, which, you know, sucked when you're out there and you don't know the abilities and you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to figure it out. Like, I think they are, you know, of course, this is a preview. For right now, as both a Ghostbuster fan and an IllFonic fan, they're saying everything I want to hear. Will it deliver? Will it work out? Like, you know, the demos I had look beautiful. I'm playing on a PC, of course, it was running well. So will that be the final thing? I'd like to hope so, but it could be wrong, and they could, you know, have servers that crash and everything else, and the game could fall apart or whatever. But like I said, for right now, the way they're talking about it, I love it on both sides. As an Ophonic fan, of somebody who's going to be able to jump into it and play it, and hopefully bring the guys along, and inevitably have them peel off after a few matches. And I'm probably to be then the Ghostbusters fan that stays there and tries to reach max level, and again tries to get the platinum trophy. I keep telling them to let me make their trophy list, but they're doing so much right, Gary, in the way that like so many of these multiplayer asymmetrical games come down to working with your team, right? Which sounds goofy, I know, because yeah, obviously if you're in a multiplayer game, you work together. But I like it when it gets down to the minutia of it. And so like I was talking to them, PS I Love You, like the matches start, Gary, as a Ghostbuster, right? With you having to whip out your PKE meter and start like doing the hot and cold thing of like, where's the ghost in the building, and then running around. And then of course as the ghost, you can haunt other objects, which would then give them false positives and lead them off the trail. But then it's the simplest thing of like, you see the ghost, you're all alone, you pull out your neutron wand, throw your proton stream, you wrangle the ghost, right? But if you don't have someone else there to throw a trap, you have to take your hand, you have to let go of the proton stream to throw out your own trap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's little things like that we see in the movies, right? You never saw, Peter zap a ghost, then also grab his trap and throw it on his own. There is a teamwork element to it that feels uniquely Ghostbusters. And when you fuck it up and the ghost gets away, and you're obviously there's the destruction of your beam going through, and at the end you get a dollar amount of how much damage you did. Like, that all feels very true to the IP.
No, I get that, and I think that's a kind of a game designer's dream when the license that you inherit just maps very nicely onto the kind of game. Another good example is the Hitman devs doing the James Bond game.
Right? Oh, for sure.
As soon as you hear those two things, you go, oh yeah, like those two things go very well together, and this seems like a similar case. But let's get to the real news here, right? So you're voicing a character in this game.
That's correct.
How does something like that come about? Do they approach you, or is it one of those things where you launch one of your fucking obnoxious social media campaigns and get all your minions to hammer them until they give you what you want to shut you up?
Well, Gary, have you seen that campaign? No, they came to me. But again, it's the fact that I've known these folks for years now, and so I think it actually plays into the way they work. The way Elphonic seems to work, right, is that they work with their friends a lot. Because you mentioned earlier, James and Elise Willems, of course, of Funhouse, are writing this game.
So they wrote your dialogue.
I am in their hands. I am in their hands for what happens to me. But like, that's a ridiculous statement to say, right? And I don't mean it in the fact that James and Elise. I mean, like, holy shit, they're writing a Ghostbusters game. They are writing something that is being put in front of the Ghost Corps. It's officially stamped Ghostbusters. Like, that's ridiculous. And you figure in Predator Hunting Grounds, right? Elise was a voice there, and so was Bruce. And like they do that thing, I think, where they bring in their friends a bit to work on their projects, because that's how Elphonic's always been. They are a small team that works with people they know and works with people that I don't know, they like, I guess, and for some reason they like me. And so they've liked me through me shitting on and loving Friday the 13th, me shitting on and loving Predator, and now we are the Ghostbusters. And I think I'm sure it strikes me very much, Gary, like you with the Joker story, where you are my friend and you know how much DC Comics means to me. So when you got approached to write a Ghostbuster story, you were very much like, of course, sorry, what? I'm sorry. Joker story. Sorry. When you got approached to write the Joker story, right, you were very much like, yeah, I'd love to do this. Can I also bring my friend? And they were like, all right, sure, why not? Because you knew it would mean a lot to me. And so I think it's a similar thing here where, Predator, I would have gladly given him a voiceover and done stuff like that. And, oh man, I'm putting mud on me, right? But like, Predator's Predator, it doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm not trying to be a, voice actor or anything like that. So for it then to be, they get the property of Ghostbusters, right? I feel like my Twitter feed today, like 6 a.m., it's embargo. I put out PS I Love You XOXO as the Ghostbusters preview. But of course, it's the internet where wherever you see it is the first thing you saw it on. My Twitter feed is blowing up to this point right now of people seeing it on other publications. You know what I mean? They see the trailer on Geekdom or comicbook.com or whatever, and they immediately are tagging me. Nibel put up his tweet about it, and so did Wario64. And there were so many just at Game Over Greggy. Like, this is my shit, right? Ghostbusters is so definitively me. This is my definitive franchise. So I think like it kind of just made sense that they're going to do this thing. Like, all right, well, we like Greg too, so why not put him in there?
But all these people are tagging you like, hey, Greg, there's a new Ghostbusters game, and you're like, yeah, I'm fucking in it. I already know, thanks.
Yeah, I know. The fucking press release doesn't mention me. It just mentions fucking Dan Aykroyd, whatever. You know what I mean? Doesn't even mention the Willems. We'll get to that eventually. They'll all be there. But yeah, it's another one of we're all internet friends and we're all making cool shit together out there. So it's cool to go out.
Yeah, it's great. When's the game coming out?
Q4 2022.
Okay, so 2023 then.
No. Well, I mean, who knows? Knock on wood. I want to play it as soon as possible, so I hope it doesn't go to 2023. And of course, when it comes here, I'll still tell you if it's good or bad. We'll go from there. But yeah,
all
big
right,
day
I'm
for
looking
us,
forward
Gary.
to it. Yeah, I mean, I really like these asymmetric games. I think it's a really cool genre, and I think there's a lot more to be explored in that space. And like I said, it's a really good marriage of genre and license, I think.
100%. Yeah. So I'm excited for it. And again, I think that IllFonic has their head screwed on straight about it. They know they can't fuck it up. They know it needs to sing at launch. Will they? I mean, that's obviously easier said than done. We'll see what actually happens, but I'm excited to see them rise to the occasion because I think they will, and I think it's going to be great. But we will wait and see. I can't confirm. I'm looking at the Twitch chat right now. I see somebody in here talking that I tagged to play together. I can't confirm at launch. I will be streaming this with the Nerd a Day podcast. Everybody, don't worry. They were the first that asked me on Twitter. I will be doing it, and I also will probably be streaming about 19 hours of it as I try to platinum it on day one. But we'll see. I digress. Number 2 on the Roper Report. There's not going to be any crunch on The Witcher 4 or whatever the hell we're calling the next Witcher. This is Hayley Williams over at GameSpot. A new title in CD Projekt Red's massively successful Witcher series was announced this week, with the untitled game currently in development and switching to a new engine in response to a tweet referring to mandatory crunch. I'm sorry, that bring those sentences together. So let's try this again. With an untitled game currently in development and switching to a new engine, period. In response to a tweet referring to mandatory crunch practices on both Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3, the new game's director has said things will be different this time. In a tweet, CD Projekt Red developer Jason Salama announced that he will be working on the next Witcher game in the role of game director. After contributing to both Witcher 3 and the studio's standalone Gwent title as a programmer, Salama has served as a game director on Gwent since late 2018 and will now be taking on the role of the studio's next big AAA adventure. Now I'm taking on that role for the studio's next big AAA adventure. With Salama's tweet, and likely the early announcement of the new game, mostly serving as a recruitment tool, the developer later responded to a tweet that brought up the studio's poor track record with crunch in the past. Salama responded, quote, "Never on my watch," promising better conditions for those hired to work on the new title. It's unsurprising that CD Projekt Red may be seeking to mend a reputation damaged by reports of mandatory crunch on Cyberpunk 2077, especially after the company initially promised it wouldn't require its employees to crunch on the expansive open world title. Since the reports of crunch on Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red has put some work into changing its workplace culture, with a 2021 strategy update saying the studio was, quote, "working hard to minimize stress, prevent burnout, and give our employees everything all they need to focus on the work with a fully positive mindset." Eddie adds on the Witcher front. Eddie adds on the Witcher front. CD Projekt. Oh, now I see what I'm doing here. God damn it. It's like a banana, but I bananaed myself. That's what we're saying there. Just to close the loop on more Witcher stuff that's happened overnight. Eddie from GameSpot adds, CD Projekt Red has announced a wide-ranging technology partnership with Epic Games to use Unreal 5 for The Witcher 4, but that doesn't mean the Polish studio will abandon its own Red Engine anytime soon. The Red Engine, which is CD Projekt Red's proprietary game development software, will continue to be used to develop Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming expansion, the studio said in a new news release. CD Projekt Red has used this engine since 2011's The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. So if you're a dork about engines, there you go. Cyberpunk going to stick on its own thing while this one, Witcher 4, or whatever we're calling it, moves to Unreal Engine 5. But enough about that. Gary, what's your read on this conversation between the new director, the world, and crunch?
Yeah, I got a number of thoughts on it. I mean, first of all, I think, it's very exciting news for Witcher fans, right? I mean, I think we all kind of knew that a new Witcher game would be coming at some point, whether it's Witcher 4 or something else. Like, clearly there's a huge appetite out there and for more Witcher, and you're just leaving money on the table if you don't make another Witcher game, which is huge right now. It's huge on Netflix, multiple TV shows. People still, really love Witcher 3. And
is there multiple TV shows now?
There's a second. I believe they're doing like a second spin-off show, and there's like there's like an anime show as well. It's big. It's big business. So
it's definitely big.
Now. The Witcher's so hot right now, Greg. So of course they're gonna double down on that. And so what's interesting is people, of course, would be looking at this very closely, just because it's the next game in a massive series of games that are hugely popular and very well loved, but also because it's the next chapter in the CD Projekt story after Cyberpunk, right? Which was a historic, a fuck up of historic proportions, right? Like the launch of that game, we'll still be talking about it in 30, 40 years, right? Oh my God, remember the Cyberpunk 100%. Launch? Like, we'll still be thinking about it and what lessons can we learn? And so that's the thing, right? The question is, what lessons can they learn and will they learn and have they learned from all the things they did wrong from the Cyberpunk launch. And hopefully they have had a very, very, very thorough and honest post-mortem where, the CD Projekt needs to be very, very honest with themselves about the things that they did wrong and all the things it cost them. And I hope that they will do that and apply the lessons going forward, both in terms of crunch and in terms of, not shipping a game until it's ready. They really can't afford to shit on the Witcher series the way that they did with the Cyberpunk launch. They have to get this right. People are going to be looking at them like doubly closely, right? And they've been stung really badly, right? Like even other developers are like, oh my god, like let's make sure we ship this on time. We don't want to have a Cyberpunk on our hands. But CD Projekt, like this happened to them, like this hit them right, in the balls, and it's still going to be hurting them, and they're not going to want to kick themselves in the balls like that again. Hopefully, I think the move to, again, I'm no expert, but I think the move to Unreal Engine sounds like a very, very smart move. The night, it's pretty much the industry leading, software tool kit for this kind of, AAA development. I think it helps in a number of ways. Like when you bring people into a team, right, you don't have to train them up on your proprietary engine. Any developer worth their salt is going to know the Unreal Engine already, right? Because everyone, it's so widely used. You should really have that skill set. So it's obviously very, very, very well supported by Epic. It can do all kinds of amazing things. That UE5 100%. Stuff that we saw in Matrix Awakens, incredible. So it makes a lot of sense. I think this whole business of developers kind of using their own proprietary engines, which is predominantly, I think, just a way to save money, because it's expensive to license Unreal Engine 5 and use it in your development, very expensive. And so I understand why, for example, as a cost-saving exercise, EA were like, oh, everything's Frostbite now. We're going to do everything on Frostbite because we own this tool. We can just deploy it across all of our development. Well, that ended up being a massive fucking mistake, right? And it ended up being like suboptimal for a lot of the games they tried to apply it to. And now they've started to move away from that. Oh, we're not doing the Frostbite is our tool for everything we develop anymore, because they realized while it might be cheaper, it was also a terrible idea. And I think that maybe CD Projekt is coming to a similar conclusion that it's just going to be easier and we can avoid crunch, and we're more likely to be able to ship this game on time if we use an industry standard tool 100%. Rather than our weird proprietary tool. So I think that's the first step in the right direction, and
it's what you've covered. But I mean, by going to a tool set so many other people use, there's such a different wealth of knowledge for a problem you'd have, or fixes for this, or how to animate this kind of thing, or that, whatever. Like all the things that you have to learn from scratch when you have your own engine, which is why you've seen the industry, I think, back off using their own engines. Like when it was like people having to build your own tech from the ground up, then use that for your own games, like that leads to problems. And I would point to Telltale Games, right? Where it was that, I'm sorry, OG Telltale, not the new revived, zombified, but undead Telltale. But the original Telltale was, right, they were using the Telltale engine, which was awful. And when all of a sudden Walking Dead hit and Telltale got big and they started making more games, they were running into so many hurdles of, and I forget what the ridiculous one, but it was something like, they wanted to roll an apple on a table, but since there's no physics in their engine, they had to shift the entire world and trick the camera. It was all these weird things.
The Telltale example is a good one, not just in terms of the engine, but certainly after Walking Dead, they became so big that the scale of the game development and the ambition level for the games, like when you're going from Sam and Max and the Strong Bad game to suddenly Walking Dead and Game of Thrones and Batman and Minecraft and these other major licenses, and there's a much bigger expectation that it started to outpace what their creaky, very old proprietary tool could do. But just from my perspective, I remember they had a separate tool, their story tool. When I worked on The Walking Dead, the first draft of the episode that I wrote was just written, in a standard word processor.
Yeah.
But then when it had to be applied to the game, I had to rewrite all of it into their proprietary tool. And it took me a while just to learn how to use their tool. So that's a good, that to me is a good example of how, let's say that you hire, anytime you take on a new project, right? We're going to make the next Witcher game. You probably have to hire a bunch of people. And again, it's going to make a lot of sense to hire a bunch of people to work on something they already know how to use than have teach them how to use your proprietary thing. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And I'm optimistic. Again, I think they got burned so badly on Cyberpunk. They will never ever live that down. Even though obviously they've come a long way in terms
the rest of the other days. Yeah.
They've come a long way in terms of fixing the game. The next gen console versions, they're actually finally at a point there where the game is what it should have been at launch. but it wasn't, and we'll never forget that. A lot of people will never forgive them for it, and this is this is an opportunity for them to kind of make things right and to say, listen, we understood that we fucked up last time. We're not going to do that again. Here, we're going to deliver a game that is really great and is fully feature complete and not buggy at launch, and it's going to ship on time. They can get it right with this one, and they can't afford not to. So I think I'm actually very optimistic that they will get this one right, just because they have to. Surely they have learned the lessons of Cyberpunk, because they were such painful lessons. How can you ignore them?
I agree with you. I think that, you talk about, look at where they were with Witcher 3 and being these darlings of the industry and getting everything right and giving away free content and blah, 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 blah. And then that they were bulletproof up until Cyberpunk. And then they got kicked down.
Which is their crown jewel, right? That's the game that they built their studio on. So they cannot make the same mistakes again.
We shall see. We're obviously nowhere close to whatever comes next in the Witcher saga, but we will continue talking about it for quite some time. Just like you should keep talking about patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, you can continue the conversation with other patrons in the comments of the things over there. I don't know. That's, you talk to each other on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. Reddit. You can also, of course, write in to be part of the show. You can get the show at the post show we do. You could get all the benefits like that episode of America's favorite quiz show, You Didn't Know Janet, over on PS I Love You XOXO's post show. But for right now, most importantly, you could get this show ad free. But guess what, Jack? You're not on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. So here's a word from our sponsor. Every day you got to get up, worry about work, worry about your family, worry about when you're playing games. It's too much. So remove the stress for shopping for clothes with Cuts Clothing. Cuts Clothing has perfected the art and science of men's shirts, so now you can throw on one look and look great without ever having to think about it. Plus, Cuts has all the essentials for looking sharp, like tees, hoodies, polos, and more, so you can stop bouncing between brands and shopping for different shirts. Tim Geddes loves Cuts. He went online, found the blues he loved, and then had them shipped to his door so he can go get haircuts and stare at electronics knowing he looks great. Cuts has totally revolutionized the traditional outdated t-shirt category. They make it easy to mix and match styles and colors so you can find the perfect style. They even developed their own fabric that's soft as hell and guaranteed not to pill or shrink. Join hundreds of thousands of guys who have made the simple decision to elevate their wardrobe with Cuts. Get 15% off your first order by going to cutsclothing.com/kindafunny. That's CUTS clothing.com/kindafunny for 15% off the only shirt worth wearing. All right, guys, let's talk about skincare. If your skincare routine is basically you washing your face in the shower with that one shower gel you've been using since high school, then it's time to level up your skincare game. But thanks to Lumen, you can drop that bottle of 3-in-1 and start using products that actually take care of your skin. All their products aim to help with those stubborn acne scars, under-eye dark circles, wrinkles, sun damage, dry skin, oily skin, and more. Starting with Lumen is easy. All you have to do is take their 2-minute quiz on their website, and they'll tell you exactly what routine is best for you based on your skincare needs. Plus, all their products are made using only natural ingredients that actually work. Guys, I swear, skincare shouldn't be that complicated thing we dread doing, and thanks to Lumen, it's simple. It takes you less than 90 seconds of your day. It's easy, and you'll have skin as smooth as Kevin Coelho's shaved cheeks. Level up your skincare game with Lumen Skin today. Go to lumenskin.com/kindafunny to get your free trial of Lumen's products. That's LUMIN skin.com/kindafunny to get your free trial of Lumen's products. That's lumenskin.com/kindafunny. This, of course, is one of my favorite sponsors of all time. It's Honey, ladies and gentlemen. When you're shopping online, it's easy to save money on your iPhone or computer. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button appears, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. Wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons it can find for that site, and if Honey finds a working coupon, you'll watch your prices drop. Here's, ladies and gentlemen, where I go and I hit pause on the ad because I use Honey all the time. This is my Google Chrome, and right there is the Honey button. You install it there. You can use it on your iPhone too, but it's great. It saves you money, and then if you're logged into, it accrues Honey coins that you can then spend on gift cards and stuff all the time. But then just yesterday, I was buying some Mizzou stuff off the internet. Guess what? There it is. I don't even think about it. Honey just pops up, little dancing coin. He's like, "You want me to save you some money?" And I'm like, "Yes, you do." If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this show. I'd never recommend something I don't use, so get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kinda. That's joinhoney.com/. Wow, that was not a 2. No, you said 2.
That was weird. More. That was weird. Like I saw it go to 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 3 on the Roper Report, Gary. This is all for you, all right? Xbox has revealed its spring controller lineup. Kevin, I put a link in there.
Oh, yeah, I saw this morning, yeah.
Are you still trying to buy every controller?
I'm trying to get every controller.
Oh, God. The Design for Xbox team has collaborated closely with our partners at POTTPOURRI, OtterBox, and 8-Bit Dough to create a unique selection of pastel products that embody the playfulness and whimsy that springtime brings. Sit back, relax, and jump into your favorite game with these soft, soothing pastel accessories with next-gen gaming features perfect for gaming on Xbox or PC. The POTTPOURRI enhanced wired controllers for Xbox Series X/S are compatible with Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, and Windows PC, and are available in 5 new playful colors: lavender swirl, mesmerizing swirly psychedelic goodness, cotton candy blue, sugary sensation inspired by the sweetest of childhood treats.
You're doing it. Keep going.
Pink lemonade, icy cold and refreshing design to brighten up any gaming session. Purple camo, pastel purple meets rough and tumble camo. And then pastel dream, soothing fades that turn even the most stressful sessions into a smooth symphony of gaming prowess.
I'm gonna say it. Those are great names. I know which one is which just from the names.
The names are great. It's the sugary sensation inspired by the sweetest of childhood treats. Maybe it's the way I'm performing it, but it sounds like a riddle. It sounds like Batman's getting lowered into cotton candy. Like he's the sugary sensation inspired by the sweetest of childhood treats. I'm very much 60s Riddler in this thing. Anyways, though, then they have this one here. I didn't put it on, but the OtterBox, like, clamp-ons or whatever. This Easy Grip, that's the one. And then the 8-Bit Dough Ultimate Wired Controller for Xbox was designed in playful pastel pink to add a bit of color to your gaming setup. Now, Gary, these aren't straight up Xbox controllers. These are not from the folks that, they're obviously licensed, but they're not the usual Xbox controller. What does this do for your collection? Do you want these? Because they're wired.
This was this was a real this was a very, very sharp emotional roller coaster for me this morning. I saw the picture. I saw that it came officially from the Xbox account. And as soon as I saw the controllers, like the color schemes and the designs, I loved them, right? Because I love those Easter pastel colors. They look like Cadbury mini eggs, right? They're just so delightful, and I love those kind of soft pastel colors that are associated with Easter. And I think these designs are wonderful. And I was immediately like, oh my God, I got to get these. And then I saw that they were wired and just switched off completely, I'm afraid.
No,
I guess it's you touched on it earlier. It is because they're not manufactured by Xbox, and Xbox, I believe, still has that. They won't license out their wireless technology to anyone. If you buy a third-party Xbox controller, it's going to be wired. 8-Bit Dough make wonderful controllers. I've got their Super Nintendo wireless controller over here, and it's terrific. But we're past. I honestly, I don't know where the market is for wired controllers anymore. I certainly can't have one in my setup. I would have it trailing, all across the living room from the TV to the couch. I've got kids in the house who could trip over them or stumble or like pull them out or whatever, and the console comes tumbling out of the thing. And we're just past wires, aren't we? Like, who the fuck wants a wired controller anymore? So
and the one thing I would throw out there. The one thing I would throw out there is that there are a lot of PC dorks and then a lot of streaming dorks like myself who have all their controllers wired. Like the Xbox I use to play my Steam games or whatever is wired, and then also my for my consoles over here for when I'm playing something, they're wired as well.
This isn't plugged in right now, but this is the controller. Right, this is my PC controller as well, because I'm sitting here, and the last thing you want is for your batteries to run out in the middle of a game or whatever, and you don't get that low battery warning on PC like you do on Xbox.
Yeah.
And so I do have like the cables right there. It's not plugged in, but when I'm sitting at a desk, then a wired controller is fine. So maybe I would try to get one of these pastel ones and have it to be my PC controller or something. But for console use, for living room use, wired is, come on, we're so far past that.
100%.
So yeah, it's that kind of kills it for me. I think there will be a market for it. It is, I think Xbox, I think the better solution here, if you really wanted to make these super popular, was Xbox either should have just done these colors in-house and made them wireless, or find a way to license the wireless technology out to select third parties. But the third option, which is let's just do a wired controller, to me is by far the worst option available. And I just it's a real shame because I love the aesthetic. It's hard to find much of a use case for them outside, sitting at your desk with a PC.
Now, Gary, in the chat, Miss Envy has tossed in a link. Kevin, I tossed it in there.
Is this the furry Sonic controller?
No, fuck the
Because
Sonic controller.
what? Fuck you. We got to talk
This
about
is
that.
the limited edition Captain America Razer wireless controller and quick charging stand for Xbox. It's in the dock. It's in the dock.
In the dock. Okay, because you're all over the place. You know.
I know. That as you started to yell at me, I was like, you know what? That isn't enough information.
What is this Captain America? What am I looking at here? Oh, Razer just sent me one of these docks. It's cool.
With the Captain America dock?
No, not the Captain America one. It was the 20th anniversary one, but it's the charging dock. And the way that it works is the kit that they send you, it comes with the dock, but then there's also so you see the way that's kind of sitting in the controller there. The Xbox controller doesn't charge from the bottom. It charges from the USB-C port on the top. So what's really happening here? What they do is they give you a special battery and a special back cover that you replace, and it has a charging plate on the back. And that docks with their proprietary dock. Gotcha. So that's how it works. And I've been using the one that they sent me, and it works really well. It sits because I've got the DualSense one for the PlayStation as well, the official Sony one, where the controller does charge from the bottom, and that works really well as well. This is a bit. It's a bit garish. Do you like that? It's a bit garish, isn't it?
It's garish, but it's Captain America. It's cool. This is one of those controllers, Gary, that I look at and I go, wow, that's really cool. No, I wouldn't buy this. I want to.
So they're selling this as the controller and the dock.
Yeah.
So it's so this is a wireless controller that's made by.
This is Razer. This is just something that she shouted at. This has nothing to do with the pastel pink cotton candy.
No, but I'm just trying to figure out what the rule is here, because if that's a controller that Razer made, I don't think it is. I think that's an Xbox controller that they've just skinned, because Xbox won't allow third-party people to make wireless controllers.
Well, that could be the case.
I think that's what it is. That's an official. That's a Microsoft manufactured Xbox controller that they have put a skin on and match with this dock, would be my guess, because there's no other way it can be wireless.
I wish we could see this in real life.
I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some way you can.
Yeah,
you want to talk with a Sonic controller?
Yeah, the furry ones. Come on. How can you not talk about that?
All right, everybody. Kevin, I'm going to give you a link and I'm going to send it right to you. Okay. There you go. Boom! It's sent right to you. Discord. There it is.
Oh God!
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right.
This shouldn't have been created. Hold on, the link won't open. That's weird.
That's really weird. While you pull it up, we're reading from Xbox's Twitter, and it goes, "We might need glasses because these controllers look fuzzy." Follow and retweet with Xbox Sonic 2 sweepstakes for a chance to win custom Sonic 2 Xbox Series X console and controllers. And there you got it. These are hairy ass controllers.
Now you got to ask yourself, how are you going to keep those clean, right? Because you're going to sweat. I don't know what kind of material that is. It's a cool gimmick, but like, how do you what's the you can't throw it in the washing machine, right? So what are you going to do?
I mean, this is a gimmick. This is something you're really playing with.
Yeah, I mean, this is dirt. Like, especially the Sonic fans, they're going to get. It's going to be more than.
Oh, do you think that's purely like a display?
Yeah. Have you ever shook Blessing's hand? Constantly sticky. And so he would fuck this up. It would be gross.
So are these real? Are they actually selling these in stores?
No, this is a competition. This is a competition.
Oh, so, okay, all right. So you can win those, but it's like there's just like a couple that they've made. All right.
Can you imagine getting that job? Somebody hits you up and they're like, "Hey, we need you to make Xbox controllers, but they need to be furry." And it's like, all right.
Number 4 on the Roper Report. Breaking news, everybody. You can create groups of games on the Switch now. Kevin, there's a link in there for you.
What?
Yeah, that's right. I like this. I saw this yesterday.
Nintendo's letting you make folders for all your Switch games and shove them together. There are 3 bullet points to keep in mind. The all software menu and groups are only available when more than 12 titles are saved in the Nintendo Switch system. Up to 100 groups can be created with a max of 200 titles per group, and the same software can be added to multiple groups. And so, Kevin, if you want to scroll down, this is obviously like, hey, that's your games. And then you see, here's how you group them. And then you do the thing, and then bam, you got a little group that you put all your Mario games together.
It's nice that they support that many, but who has 20,000 Switch games, and is there even a memory card on the planet that could fit them all?
Oh yeah, you can put a lot of. You can put you can get what, a 250 gig memory stick for. I
gotta say, given that I'm constantly battling the storage, well, not so much on my Xbox as it has 2 terabytes, and as you know, Greg, I recently updated the storage on my PlayStation as well, so it was less of an issue. But prior to those memory upgrades, I was constantly battling the hard drive space. What's amazing about the Switch is, even though it has a smaller, I mean, I think I've got like a 256 gig memory card in my main Switch. it's but like, maybe the footprint on Switch games is a lot smaller, but I'm constantly amazed at how many games I can. It's never once said, "Oh, you've got to free up space." I just keep adding games. I love it.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's what it's all about for you.
The folders is nice. I would put I could put all my Mario games in one folder. What it means is that all of your games now, if you organize them nicely, can fit on that main screen, and you never have to go to that like gallery view at the end and go find where all your other games.
I'm sorry.
are.
Say that one more time for me.
I can't remember exactly what I just said, but it's nice that you can organize your games in folders, so like you can put all your Mario games or whatever, or your racing games in one. You don't have to go all the way to the end to that gallery view where you can see all of the games that you've installed.
We got off track there. I didn't expect you to, for us to get a little wiggly there. I was waiting for you to make this point. We'll go to Sam Byford over at The Verge, who writes, Nintendo finally adds folders to the Switch. Kind of. Nintendo has added a new folder system to the Switch's UI more than 5 years after the console was first released. It's included as part of the firmware software 14.0. This being Nintendo, the system doesn't work exactly like you might expect.
God.
It's called Groups, but doesn't allow you to place anything on the home screen. Instead, you have to scroll all the way to the right to get the vertical list of all your software and press L. That lets you access and create the groups for various games.
They give and they take away.
WND, weird Nintendo decisions, ladies and gentlemen. It won't do all that much to help you organize your home screen or full list of games then. I already have a big enough Switch library that it was easiest for me to keep that list alphabetical order and find what I wanted to play that way. But the groups feature could still be useful for self-curation. I have a bunch of games from the Sega Ages and Arcade Archive series of retro re-releases, for example. And with Switch groups, I can easily place them into this thing.
I'm very Nintendo positive at the moment because I'm really enjoying the new Mario Kart DLC tracks. What a thrill it is to be playing new courses in Mario Kart 8 after all these years.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. I think I'm one of the people that actually thinks the expansion pack is really good value if you're going to use all of it. Like, my wife plays the hell out of Happy Home Designer. She loves these new courses. I think we've got like multiple members of the family that use it. Like for me, it's actually a really good value. So I haven't had too many complaints with Nintendo recently, but you're absolutely right. Every single time they come up with something, like they can do something really good, right? Here's a nice new feature you're going to love. It's almost like they then like send it to another department and say, okay, we've come up with this great feature that everyone's going to love. Can you find some way to make it fucking annoying and counterintuitive at the same time? Like we have to offset this. Like we can't make it
what people exactly want. We give them exactly what they want. They will expect
we have to like add some really important but it's Nintendo, so actually it's going to be a pain in the dick. Why do they every fucking time? Why can't I just have folders on the home screen?
Number 5, ladies and gentlemen, we will move on. We will talk instead about the fact that the reviews are up for Rune Factory 5. So I have your review roundup. At 9:30 a.m. this morning, which is an hour and a half ago our time. Metacritic had it at 69. Nintendo Life gave it a 7. Mitch Vogel wrote, is Rune Factory 5 for you? Well, that depends. Do you like RPGs or farm sims? If you answered yes to either or both, then you're sure to find something you'll love in the series. Even so, it might be worth waiting for a modest sale before you take the plunge. The relaxing pace, RPG elements, and charming aesthetic make this a compelling experience, but issues with poor performance, disappointing visuals, and sometimes clunky gameplay hold Rune Factory 5 back from greatness. If 3D visuals aren't a deal breaker for you, we'd recommend you pick up Rune Factory 4 Special first, as it's cheaper and oddly feels more modern in some respects. Despite flawed execution, we'd still give Rune Factory 5 a recommendation if its precise and unique genre blend really clicks with you. You'll forgive many a flaw. Just know that it doesn't truly excel in any area. From there, we go down. IGN gave it a 6. The one, the only, Rebecca Valentine wrote, Rune Factory 5 has much of the mechanical depth that made its predecessor so enjoyable, but none of the improvements one would expect from a leap to a new, more powerful platform. Its farming, crafting, combat, and relationship systems remain varied and nuanced, satisfying enough to keep me hooked as someone who loves the soothing nature of farming and life sims. But I'm disappointed that yet another game in this genre has created an empty, technically janky 3D world, especially when the studio behind it clearly has such excellent art chops demonstrated in the occasional animated cutscenes and character portraits. Its bad performance didn't necessarily stop me from enjoying the 45 plus hours I jumped into it, but it did make that time far more frustrating, and it's a shame Rune Factory wasn't able to make a grander statement in its dedicated Switch debut.
Mm.
And then rounding it out, Silicon Air gave it a 5. That's a 5 out of 10. Jenny Lada wrote, if you need a farming and fighting mix, Rune Factory 5 is an option. It just isn't the best one out there. It's living in the shadow of its far superior siblings. Even if patches fix all of the technical issues, it would still feel uneven. I do think that if we get a Rune Factory 6, it could be better and build off the entry's missteps. There were times when I enjoyed myself while playing, but going back to Rune Factory 4 Special for another run would be a wiser choice. So I know many of you were looking forward to Rune Factory 5 on the Nintendo Switch coming out, of course, today in North America, but reviews not that hot for it. Is that something your wife would want to jump into? Is that something Leah would want to play?
No,
A farming sim?
Too many other games to play at the moment.
Fair enough.
Too much
Speaking
going
of
on.
too many things going on. Number 6 is a potpourri. That's right, a bunch of little headlines for you. Number 1, we talked a little bit about Cyberpunk up there, but Cyberpunk 2077 has a patch out right now. It's 1.52. It does a bunch of fixes and like things you expect, like, oh, you won't instantly die on this mission in the elevator anymore. But Paul Tassi, right over at Forbes, put up a tweet that said Cyberpunk added another new random piece of legendary loot in 1.52 that is actually pretty rad. I'll do a guide later. He put up a little screenshot of it, but if you're interested in some more legendary loot, give Paul Tassi a follow there on Twitter. He's great. Over at IGN, Adam Bankhurst wrote, Casey Hudson, the co-creator and director of the Mass Effect trilogy, looks to once again be returning to space as his new studio, Humanoid Studios, has confirmed it is working on an, quote, all new science fiction universe, end quote. And then Eddie over at GameSpot wrote, EA Sports is getting back into PGA Tour golf games, but the road to release has been anything but smooth. The developer originally intended to launch a new PGA Tour game in spring 2022, but it later delayed the game indefinitely. Now it's been assigned a new release date, spring 2023. EA Sports PGA Tour will be EA's first new PGA Tour game since the poorly received Rory McIlroy, right? PGA Tour in 2015. Since then, another rival series has started up, 2K's own PGA Tour 2K.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a bummer. I've always loved those PGA games, man. I used to play the hell out of those Tiger Woods games back in the day,
For sure.
and it's a shame that they kind of fell off. The 2K one's actually quite good. I played that quite a lot last year, and I was excited to hear that EA was getting back into it because competition is good, right? If you've got two companies making there's too much monopolization in sports,
Sure.
right? Like only
Competition
EA
breeds
the NFL game, or there's only 2K makes the NBA game. There's and you get to kind of rest on your laurels a little bit, which is why somehow we often end up with these shit games because there's what are you going to do? Not buy it? And people go out and buy it because there's nothing else out there. So to see a little bit of competition, at least in the golf space, I think will be good for the games in general.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm excited to see how EA Sports PGA Tour comes around, but spring 2023 is so far away. Gary, if I wanted something more immediate, what came to the mom and grop shops? Where would I go?
The official list of upcoming software on each and every platform, as listed by the Kinda Funny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah! Out today. First game, the Nonary games, Xbox all around. Rune Factory 5 on Switch. A Place for the Unwilling on Switch. Kraken Academy with 2 exclamation points on Xbox and Switch. Tempest 4000 on Switch and Atari VCS. Farming Simulator 22. Antonio Carraro DLC is available. And then a Returnal's Ascension update is out now, of course, adding co-op in the tower and all that jazz. New dates for you. Vengeful Hearts releases on consoles March 29th. I also have a deal of the day for you. This one comes from GameSpot, where Stephen Petit writes, we've seen some great deals on the Xbox Series S in recent weeks, but today's deal at Newegg is the best yet. Until the end of the day, you can get an extra Xbox controller with the purchase of the Xbox Series S at its $300 retail price. While the deal technically ends tonight, it's certainly possible that Newegg will run out of stock before then.
So that Series S, I had a friend of mine just went out and bought a Series S this week, and they were like just raving about, oh my God, this thing's amazing. Series S is such a great little console.
Look at you, shill.
I call it like I see him.
I know you do. I appreciate it. And I love you. Excited. You missed last XCast, right? You going to be on Friday's XCast? You going to be out there?
Yeah, I don't like to miss 2 in a row if I can avoid it.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear very much. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, you can write in Twitch. No, that's not right. You can write into kindafunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screw up as you screw it up. No need to today, though. We got everything right. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's instead talk to you about who's going to be hosting tomorrow and the rest of the week. Tomorrow, it's going to be Andy and me. That's right, though. Andy's running the show. Andy's in charge, Kevin. Andy in charge of our days and
You think so?
our nights. And I see. Yeah, I think
Like,
so.
does he know? Because I feel
Yeah,
like he
I
doesn't
said
know.
it in that meeting. He didn't really react to it.
Yeah,
People
I feel
need
like
to
we
tweet
should
at
bring it
him
up to
at
him.
the Andy
Yeah.
Cortez.
Ooh, I don't know if he'd like
It's gonna
that.
be a tough one. This is gonna be a tough one because, yeah, if he tweets at him though, like, who knows if it's serious or not? You
When
know?
he's streaming tonight, tell him. Thursday, it's going to be me and
I
Tim.
don't think
Friday,
he's
it's going to be
streaming
me and
tonight.
Blessing, and that will be another week of Kind of Funny Games Daily in the books.
gonna
If
end
you want to
poorly,
hang
I
out
can
with us
tell.
some more, get you. Oh, sorry, was it Kevin?
This is gonna end poorly. We're gonna get
No,
to
it's everything's
tomorrow. No one's gonna have stories put together.
Kevin, it'll
Barrett's
be
gonna
okay. No, Barrett, don't cry.
No, Barrett, it's too early.
Gary and I are going to go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, and we are going to record the post show, which of course is one of the benefits of you being a Patreon producer and supporter. If you want to keep watching here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, they are going to be playing some Zelda Breath of the Wild there. They're going to play some Zelda Breath of the Wild after this. That'll be up later on youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays, our newest YouTube channel. Please go like, subscribe, share, click the bell, and all that jazz. But until next time, remember, this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy video game news you know about. If you like that, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, where you get more content than you can shake a Kevin at. If you don't want to do that, though, youtube.com/ just keep going to Patreon. YouTube.com, it's like an endless cycle as you keep going. youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, podcast services around the globe. Of course, please support us by using the Epic creator code KindaFunny wherever you're getting your Epic related gaming goods or whatever the hell it is. And of course, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.